you actually lived in the region?
So I've been in this region for 6 years. 6 years, counting 7 August 2021.
So obviously you like that.
Absolutely. It's a wonderful place to live. The conveniences, the demographic of people, understanding the cultures, the melting pot of cultures here. So it's not just the area. Yes, we are in the GCC, but the melting pot of the European cultures, the Asian cultures, and how the nuances of those cultures are different. So it's been a sight to see, a sight to smell, a sight to taste. It has definitely been something for the senses.
So your 6 years in the region, has it always been in the GCC, or what other places have you been within this region? Let me ask that question.
Oh, okay. So yes, I've always lived in Dubai.
Okay. Okay.
I visited a few places, Bahrain, Doha, mostly for travel, back to the U.S. I've been to Oman, which is in the region but not of the GCC. But I haven't been to Kuwait. There's a lot of places though I have not been within the GCC. Obviously Abu Dhabi. I've been to all of the Emirates basically in the United Arab Emirates.
Okay. So tell me this: what did work specifically bring you here, or you wanted to get out of your comfort zone?
Absolutely. I think you hit, for me, I'll speak for myself. I think I was maybe my early 30s, and I didn't have a family. I felt like I needed a change. I felt like I needed to do something to shake it up a little bit. So initially when I got the itch, I was going to Washington, D.C. And being a Florida girl, my mom said, it snows. And that's did I want to go, or was I looking for an excuse not to go, right? So I kind of let that go, and then it hit me again in my mid-30s, and just by happenstance, I was procrastinating going into the gym, and I'm in this dental group on Facebook, and it's all dental related professionals in this group, and it's US wide, now it's worldwide, but at the time it was just basically US providers. And it was an advertisement for dental hygienists, and it was great pay, and of course I've heard all these kind of extravagant things about Dubai, and I was like, you know what, why not? And called the recruiter, and he says, send your CV, and I said, okay. He was in West Palm Beach.
Wow.
And I sent my resume as I know it.
Okay.
And it was all kind of uphill from there. I sent my resume, had the interview. That was March of 2014, and I was here August of 2014.
Wow. So would you say that your time spent, it has been good for you, or is it time for you to say, okay, I want to go somewhere else, or I'm done with this region, I want to spread my wings? What's the future leading? And then that will lead us into our next topic.
Oh, the future for me, I am definitely a person about different cultures. So being in Fort Lauderdale was absolutely a wonderful thing, because you had such a huge demographic of people from South America, from the Caribbean. So that just kind of speaks to who I am. And then moving abroad and living amongst these people it speaks to me in the core. So will I ever object to living abroad? Or moving somewhere else? No. At this particular time in my life, I feel like I need to go home. I feel like I need to check in. I feel like I need to just kind of touch and agree with my mother, which I'm her only child, my grandparents who are still living, my cousin, sister, cousin, you know. I just need to, my godsons, I just need to kind of be there and connect with them. And that I have that sense in my being at the moment. But as I say that, I am also looking for other opportunities, or I should say I'm also open to other opportunities.
So, okay. Even though home is calling you back, if another opportunity presented itself, and let's say it was so beneficial to you, where would you go? Where would you go?
Honestly, you know, because I'm such a people person, I'll go wherever they have me.
Wow.
I have a profession. I'm not tied down to that profession. I have many more interests. However, wherever they have me, I will go. If they, you know, if it's, you know, a language barrier, I'm not a linguist, so I do only speak English. So beneficial would be an English-speaking country.
Basically, Anglophone to help you maneuver.
Yes.
Okay.
That would do. But because I'm a people person and I relate to people, I do well with communicating, nonverbal communication with people, and getting what I need done and doing what I need to do, even in a foreign kind of environment. But obviously, English is my means of verbal communication. So.
Understood. So, let's move the conversation to the melanated folks in the region. Because you have been here for so long, how has your experiences been? One, I want to talk about continental Africans as well as those blacks in the diaspora within this region. So let's start with blacks in the diaspora. How has your experience been with others who look like you and I in this region themselves?
We, at this point, I think the diaspora is just so varied and it's so nuanced. That is a kind of intrigue. But for the most part, it's been, you know, it's been my experience. Like I said, I have experience with a lot of people that look like me, but culturally we are different. And because I'm a people person, I seek to understand where they're coming from.
Okay.
Not to necessarily change who I am, but to understand why would someone say that? Why would someone do that? And I would hope the same thing for me. But a lot of times everyone comes with their reference or their stereotypes, their perceptions of what you should be, and then versus who you are. And I've met a wide variety of people from the diaspora. It was so funny because I was like, the wildest thing I had, like last week, I had 3 patients. One, she was Congo, and she was originally, her family's from Congo. However, she was raised in Belgium.
Oh wow! Okay.
Very. Then I had a family from the UK that they were black. So just very interesting week for me as far as having the diaspora, coming in contact with the diaspora. So I've had great experience, and it's just been eye-opening to know that melanated people are all over this world, and we populate.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
We take up space, I should say.
Gotcha. So talk about then your experience with continental Africans who have, or your experience just involving with them, you know, your experiences.
And relating. I've had great experiences. I've had a lot of miscues experiences, experiences where I've had to kind of sit back and be quiet.
Yes. Sometimes that's good.
That's very good.
Sometimes it's good.
And just kind of and not understand and trying to, once again, going back to that understanding, everyone, just because we look alike, we are so nuanced in our social class. We are so nuanced in our economic status.
Yes.
And what's available to us. So we may be in the same place, but our experiences just based on that. And it doesn't make it right, doesn't make it wrong. And sometimes just because you look like me, that doesn't mean that doesn't necessarily mean you have the same experiences that I have.
True.
Or you look at things through the same lens, and sometimes that it can be a barrier, but if you can just sit and you can just listen, you can probably figure out where you kind of.
It's kind of like when elders say, "Peace, be still." Just be still for a minute, and then you can kind of maybe maneuver and.
So, but I've had great experiences from East African to West African to South African, and I say that kind of breaking it up, generalized.
Okay.
But you know, people from Uganda, people from Kenya, people from Sudan, and that would be the subcontinent, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So we can get into the sub and
sure
the northern, but that's a whole nother topic. But yeah, definitely some interesting experiences.
So let me ask you this then: with the experiences that you've had, what are some of the reasons why those continental Africans have said to you they have left their homeland? What has been some of the reasons that they have said to you, "Hey, I left Kenya for this reason. I left Sudan for this reason," etc.?
It was more so probably with access.
Okay.
And a lot of people that I do come in contact, they tend to be their economic status is of a higher net worth.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people have left home, you know, in their teens. They've been abroad, in boarding school, and studying, whether that's in Europe, whether that's in the UK, whether that's Australia, or the United States. So their experiences is going to be totally something like, yes, you know, that is their home, but obviously the type of work that they do, the access and the opportunities, it's not that developed.
Okay.
Where they can go back. And it's interesting enough that I have that conversation because I have one person in mind when I say that. Mm-hmm. And when I first met her, she had no desire to go back to Kenya. And I was like, but why not?
Yes.
Why not? Why wouldn't? That's your home. Why wouldn't you want to go home? And you know what? She's back home. She started her practice.
Awesome.
And she is now engaged.
You know, it is so awesome to hear stories like that, especially with them returning home, because their countries need them. You know, a lot of the brain drain with continental Africans leaving, and as I was telling a fellow colleague of mine, the number one reason that I personally get is just the politics. But what they don't really, meaning continental Africans don't understand, that us blacks that come from America, our political system is not the greatest in the world. But this is what is being portrayed to them. And so when you sell that propaganda, people say, oh, I want to leave this place because of the politics here, but do you know what you're getting when you go elsewhere? You know, a lot of times it appears like the grass is greener and rosier elsewhere than home, but that's a good story to hear, that she has gone back home to start up her business. You know, myself personally, I am a nomadic person. I have really never lived anywhere longer than 5 years.
Yes.
And so I have been allowed to see just different things that have formulated my ideologies about a host of things. Mm-hmm. You being here in the Middle East, how has this country, let's say the GCC, I know what they call the Middle East, but truly that's not intended, but we'll talk about that later. But how has the religious aspects of the GCC, have they stifled you in your own personal beliefs, or have they allowed you to flourish in your own personal beliefs? Tell us about that.
They have opened up. I have always been, although I was a small town girl, I was a worldly girl in my head.
Okay.
And so I look at religion as just what it is. It is a way of life. Mm-hmm. And certain people in a certain way, you know, to connect with a higher power.
Yes. Spiritual being,
a spiritual being, and what that makes sense in the region, in the place that you live in, and then in your daily life. So I think religion has helped people over millions of years or thousands of years kind of develop a kind of more efficient way to either live healthier and then also connect to that spiritual being. So even living in this area, you're met with some of the most dogmatic, draconian kind of perceptions, right? Because once you get here, it's totally different,
yes.
right? But it has allowed me to understand that we really just are coexisting, and I think being here in the United Arab Emirates is a kind of great introduction abroad. And it's not a Christian country, but yet it is still kind of a live and let live type of, and it has become that more.
So basically, it hasn't impeded you in any
way.
way.
No, I've been to Brazil. I've kind of explored some of the natural African spirituality and religions. I'm never afraid. I've never been afraid of that. You know, being I would say being Christian.
Yeah.
Growing up Christian, I was never afraid to talk about what we would consider voodoo, or what we would consider Yoruba or Santeria or Candomblé or some of these other I've never been afraid of it, or never been shied away from talking about it. And just what is it, right? So I went to Brazil, had a great time there, and I find that Islam and true Christianity is very similar.
Yes.
It has opened me up to Orthodox. It has opened me up to the Ethiopian Christianity or Judaism. It's a cross, a mix of really when you talk about it. So, I mean, it hasn't really did anything to stop or to kind of my outlook. I just think that we coexist and we find what works for us.
True. You know, I really asked that because people seem to, I've been asked numerous times about how I'm navigating as a person who is I don't practice any dominant religion. How am I able to live here? I continue to live here, and blood and oxygen permeates my body continuously without me having to worry about if I am a practicing person of Islam or I'm a practicing Christian. I'm living, and it's not impeded, so it's good that you say that. Since you brought up Brazil, tell our audience about your travels. Where else have you been? Talk about some of your favorite places.
Brazil
yes.
My God, Brazil is really up there, probably top. Brazil, I enjoyed Bali. It is a bit touristy, commercial, but the people are truly hospitable. Some of the most hospitable people, and the scenery, it can't be topped. I've enjoyed my travels. I enjoyed Greece. I enjoyed Santorini. I really did. Joburg. I really want to get back to South Africa.
Okay.
I did a quick trip during Eid, and I went to Joburg, and it was heavy. And going back to your previous question about relatability to people on the continent,
yes.
I find that I relate as an American. I relate more to South Africans than any other. It seems like I understand where they're coming from, and I just it's a connection there for me with South Africans. I feel.
Okay.
And I wonder, is it because of the whole race thing that we share culturally,
yes.
that we understand?
Yes.
But Joburg was heavy, but I really can't wait for the opportunity to go back and explore do some of the fun stuff. You know, some of the touristy, some of the wine, enjoy the country, and but I'm glad I got the cultural, the heavy stuff over
yes.
and done. Yeah.
You know, the first time I went to South Africa, the first place I went to was Johannesburg. And on a previous conversation, I spoke with a gentleman about my love for South Africa. And of course, he asked me, well, why of all the countries that you say you decided you're going to, your final days out, why did you pick her? And I gave him my reasons for not picking her. Although South Africa is, especially Cape Town, the beauty is just, I have no words in my vocabulary that could properly articulate the way that she looks, you know. Her beauty is just unmatched of all the places I've been to. Yes, and I've been on 6 continents. I've seen a lot. Lot.
Yes.
And so, but what keeps me at bay, and it's something you brought up, even though I can identify with them due to the apartheid regime, the problem is the institutional mindset. Like I was sharing with you my time there. I recently shared with some Ghanaian friends of mine how I was looking to purchase property in Cape Town. I mean, I pretty much wasn't allowed to buy because of my skin color. And the people who I knew and who I were with, of course, they were buying a villa that cost more than the mere pittance of money I had in my pocket. But they were allowed to buy. They were not considered black, but I'd known the husband for years. He has since gone on to the great beyond. He was in an uproar about them not selling to me. And had it not been for his wife, because they had been looking for a place in South Africa to purchase for years, had it not been for her, they probably wouldn't have bought. But of course, that's his wife. He wanted to please his wife, but he was angry. But I say that to say this. I've been in restaurants all over South Africa. I've been the first customer in the restaurant. I've been ignored because someone who comes in, they don't look like me, they're white, they're European, they get served first before me, and I'm sitting here saying, hey, I'm sitting here, didn't you see me arrive first? I've been there with friends of mine who experienced the same thing. And so the institution of apartheid, yes, it may not be legal on the books. However, it is legal in the mind, if you get me. And I think that it is going to take a lot of action on South Africans to really get their mindsets right, because it's still, well, white is better. And even though she came in here first, no, I am not going to serve her. Now again, I'm telling you, this place is gorgeous. It is gorgeous, gorgeous. As you and I sit here on the balcony and we look at this place here, I mean, imagine this times 10.
Yeah.
You know,
this is what I've heard, and your experience is not alone, because I did feel that, and
in Joburg.
And
Okay.
I received some of that, and it was eye-opening as the mentality and where these people are mentally.
Yes.
Like you're saying that although apartheid is not legal on the books, it is in the mind. And it's so unfortunate, because these people who are perpetrating this kind of behavior, they look like you and me. Yes. And so it's kind of like, you instantly recognize what it is when it happens.
Yes.
And it's so unfortunate. But I feel, and when you say that, I say I really I think it's bubbling with potential.
Yes,
because
of course.
the infrastructure is there.
Yes.
They just need to get their mind and understand. And then why they didn't sell to you, we can go into that too. But,
Right.
But that's to keep the institutions of
the race thing. Of course.
That's to keep Cape Town what Cape Town is.
Of course, of course,
So,
of course.
but the infrastructure is definitely there. But the country is so vast.
Yes.
South Africa is just
Yes.
so vast. But I think they have a lot of potential. But yes, I do. I received some of that.
Yes.
I received. I went to a new winery there as well, and the only thing I think my saving grace was my American privilege.
Wow. Now talk about that a little bit. American privilege and how it gets you things.
And so going back to your previous question about relating to us,
Yes.
I think sometimes we come out here, we don't understand that we have American privilege, especially Black Americans.
Yes.
And then we also come out here with an American mentality instead of, hold up, you're not in Kansas anymore. This is how they do it. Sit back and see where it's going to lead you. Now, you're going to have some reservations about it, but sometimes you have to sit back and see how it unfolds. And a lot of times we start doing the same things as if we were in Miami, if we were in Atlanta, if we were in Houston or New York or LA, and we kind of don't open ourselves up to so many other cultures here, whether that's the UK diaspora, whether that's the diaspora from the continent, and we just kind of get closed in with the same people because it's easy, it's familiar.
Of course.
And it does feel good. It does feel good to connect, but sometimes we really do need to connect and understand with the diaspora, because we, as Americans, we bring in a lot. We bring in a lot. We're a lot.
we do, and that is actually something that I talk about a lot, is that the collectivism with continental Africans and those in the diaspora, I mean, it is tantamount to what is actually happening on the continent today. If you continue to have leaders like Michael Foley and people like this, there is going to be no leaps and bounds as to what these countries are going to be able to do. And even though South Africa is the most developed on the continent, when you think about other strides that can be made just there, I mean, it's like an untapped child's mind.
Right.
For me personally, first being there and never having been in South Africa before, what I loved so much, I had never seen so many Black bankers in my life. Small things that people probably would not even identify with. Because it just opened me up to
The possibility.
yes, like
That's what I see in South Africa. The potential, like you're there. However, your mindset.
yes,
So you have the infrastructure, but you don't have the mindset of of certain leaders that you could do.
yes,
You could do so much with this.
of course.
And you could be such a force. Now, can you imagine the development South Africa has with maybe a leader from the guy that just, I don't know.
Michael Foley,
Yes,
Tanzania. Well, he definitely was going to be on his way, but people who are progressive like that and are not in the pockets of the West
is a danger.
Yes.
I'm liking Rwanda.
Yes. Yes.
I'm liking what's being done there too. But the development already the infrastructure, because that takes a lot.
A lot. It does.
And we know how that happened and why it happened.
Of course.
But it's there, so we're going to use it, right?
Of course.
But take the development that they have, and if you could take some of these progressive leaders that they are trying to develop their country without the aid of the West, and the West is not always, but the East.
Yeah,
we have to. The new Silk Road is about.
No, you are absolutely correct.
So it's that would be a very wonderful thing to see.
Totally, I totally agree. And I always say it may not be in my lifetime, but I know that it's coming.
Yeah.
It may not be while I am on earth, but I know that it's coming. Now let me ask you this, and this will be our final thought. When you talked about Brazil, the times that I've been in Brazil, and especially when you go down, I don't know if you went down to Salvador de Bahia, and you see the people and they look like us and they are so welcoming. Just that vast pool of melanated talent down there. Did you feel as welcoming as you were when you were in Johannesburg? Tell me about your experience.
No,
living in
I
that
felt
area.
more welcomed in Brazil. Let me tell you, if I can
Speak on it.
Portuguese,
Yes.
my mom, so the backstory to how I got, because there's always a backstory.
Of course
right?
it is.
So,
Of course.
how did I get to Brazil? I'm reading, in essence, maybe 2008, 2009. There's this little festival called the Sisters of the Dead in Cachoeira.
Yes.
And because I'm that child, well, why not? And
I
so
love that.
I said, Mom, they have this festival. My mom was always a person. My mom was a bit of. She was kind of out there as well. But of course, I guess as you get older, you kind of resort back to kind of fall back in line. So it passed to me, right? Oh yeah. And so, but anyway, so we get there. However, couldn't go. Never could go. But I was like, we should do this. I went to Brazil, that was 2008. So the seed was planted just by that little small kind of events thing back in the back column of Essence that they used to, they have. I don't know, I haven't had Essence in a while. Print. I see it again. And I was like, I'm going. And there was this guy, he was advertising, I don't know how he jumped on my feed, but he's on my feed. He does Afro-Brazil tours. And he's talking about this tour. He's describing it a little different. And I said, is this the Sisters of the Dead in this tent? He said, yes, same. Boa Morte. And I was like, yes, that's it.
I want to go.
I never met this tour guide. Trusted him, trusted the universe. It all worked out. My mom flew from Florida to Rio. I flew from here, and it was an awesome experience. We were welcomed. It was one of the best tours I could have ever thought about curating. But the festival itself, and the people, and how the religion, basically the Yoruba, the Candomblé is under attack right now.
Yes.
But that religion is so intertwined in that country.
Yes.
It's going to be hard to do that. So we were all in Bahia and through the mountains, and we veered away from the coast. We were on the coast a bit, but we got up in the mountains.
Yes.
And it was, when I tell you, it was like a homecoming. It was, and actually there where they meet, and the organization is one of the oldest sororities in the Western Hemisphere. And what these ladies did was that they helped enslaved Africans gain their freedom.
Yes.
They trained them. And so in order to be a part of this organization, which is still up and running today, the sisters are still going, you must be over 40, so you've lived your life, you've had your family, and now you're able to give back to your community. So once a year, it's basically a homecoming, and they do an integration, and they go from the church, they parade from the church, so the priest is all in, and they carry the Madonna through.
Yes.
And it's a celebration. I can show you the pictures after. It was, have you been?
I didn't go for that, but I've been to town where they might. Yes.
Yeah. So
yes.
you've had, and they have different festivals, and it's very similar.
Of course.
But their house, these sisters' house that their home, their sorority home, was financed by Coretta Scott King.
Wow.
Yeah.
See how you learn something new every day?
Yeah. And so they give back. Oh, it was, when I tell you it was a time, and we had a true samba, and it's a shame because you see how our history and our culture has been sexualized,
Of course it
and
is.
taken out. But when I tell you, these women, and it was such a lovely time, and of course you always have a little riffraff in the midst.
Yes.
And how they got that energy back it was something to see. So
And powerful.
Very powerful. So you had some bad, and they were getting a little, because they feed the community.
Yeah.
People come out. It's a different kind of vibe for everyone can get whatever they need out of it, right?
Of course.
And when I tell you those sisters made that circle and they started, oh, it was a sight to see. I get chills. I go back and I watch the video.
Yeah.
Each time. But
I've heard of the of those particular tours for that particular festival. Me personally, I have just never gone. Does the gentleman who you decided to go with, does he still run those festivals?
Unfortunately, he has since passed.
Okay. Okay.
So he's gone to the great beyond, but I tell you, Carlos was a gem. He was a definite gem. Honest, sincere. He was from the area, practiced the religion. He was educated in California.
Okay.
And then he returned to do the Afro tours.
It's good to hear good things about Brazil. I happen to be and we'll wrap up here, on a gentleman's podcast a while ago, because he wanted me to talk about some of the lies that a lot of black men who travel, and they're not telling the truth. And of course, I let it all hang out and told them the things that go on in a lot of these different places, as well as in Brazil. But what I did find, me personally, is that when I was in Salvador de Bahia, and just in that region of Brazil, I didn't experience the stuff that you experienced in Rio and those areas. Just because it was just a different dynamic, and maybe it was just because of that melanin energy. I can't even say. Although I had the time of my life in all of the places that I have visited in Brazil, the energy again was just different. Just being over here with the people that look like me, it just was different in totality. And so, I again, like you, I enjoy myself, but have never gone for that particular festival. Well, one, I want to thank you for joining me here on the Afro-Ethiopia podcast. We like to have unique guests here, having an array of topics that we talk about for those in the diaspora, as those also on continental Africans. So I want to let you, if you want to plug your social media or any of your channels, you're welcome to do that. And we're going to end our conversation today. So go ahead.
It was a pleasure. Thank you. Hope I could do it again.
Of course.
Yeah, we have
backstories. Of course. Yes.
We can talk about what I do, and I am such a unicorn out here.
Yes.
But definitely, I don't really have any podcasts or any social media at this moment. Anybody that wants to reach me can reach me at rdhdubai at gmail.com. I am DS_BB on Instagram. But yeah, I'm just out here living.
Awesome, and thank you for joining us.
All right.